Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. As many of you know, tomorrow on Sunday the 18th, Poland will be voting for the next president. Today we have the electoral silence that will remain until pretty much the end of tomorrow. So even though I will be traveling, I will do my best to record the video on Monday for you after hopefully the results of the election will be announced. So I'm going to remain silent until then as far as that topic. In today's video, I would like to bring to you two topics from Poland, two videos from Poland. Actually, one of them also is related to Sweden. It's very important. And actually, it's related to how the evil operates in European Union, not just in EU, in Australia and other countries too, I believe, but you will hear that from the gentleman in a second, in a few minutes. But we're going to start with the peace talks that took place in Turkey. As it was suspected, not much has really happened, and the talks ended within 2 hours without any agreement. I will play for you an interview with Vladimir Medinsky, who is, as I just read, I don't know this gentleman, he is a Russian political figure, academic and publicist. He was also serving as the Minister of Culture of the Russian Federation from May 2012 to January 2020. You know, when I read that he was the Minister of Culture, I was thinking that he is one to, probably he's one of many, but one to thank for how beautiful the museums in Russia are, especially in Moscow, that I have visited so many of them. So as far as the cultural side of Moscow, I know that some Russian viewers maybe don't agree, but I was very impressed with the museums and art that I came across there, not just, of course, in Moscow, but also in St. Petersburg, even though I spent most of my time in Moscow. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to play an interview in which he is discussing those not successful peace negotiations, as was expected. And the title of this video is mentioning his words, quoting him, "Russians always come back to get what is theirs." So let's take a listen. He is describing what took place as far as those negotiations go. And then we will go to Poland and what I prepared for you from here. So let's take a listen.
Was that in negotiations with you?
Yes. We referenced everything there. Reminded them.
We saw that you opened it several times.
Well, the key point was, since we view the negotiations as a continuation of the Istanbul process, it was very important to remind everyone what we had agreed upon in Gomel. Back at the end of February. And how everything could have ended if Ukraine had agreed to peace at the end of February. They didn't agree. They dragged things out after that. The next stage of the agreements was already in Istanbul. It was somewhat tougher in relation to the realities on the ground than what was proposed in Gomel. But unfortunately, the Istanbul process was also disrupted, this time due to the intervention, direct intervention. Of the West. And we know the historical analogies for this kind of interference. And where does this lead? Let me remind you that, for example, after, it's a complicated history. For instance, there were many Russo-Turkish wars. And as a result of one of these wars, which was triggered by a major conflict in the Balkans in the 1870s, we basically reached an agreement with Turkey. And this agreement was in the interests in each of the young Balkan states, which were gaining independence, autonomy, and so on. But the West intervened. A Congress was convened in Berlin, which decided that the agreements between Russia and Turkey concluded after the Treaty of San Stefano could be improved. And what did the West's improvement of these bilateral agreements lead to? It led to new Balkan wars. That was in 1912, 1913, and ultimately because the problems in the Balkans were not resolved, the First World War broke out. Then, as many people are saying now, supposedly there was a truce at first. And that's how it always was.
30 days without any shooting.
Well, 30 days, 60 days, it doesn't matter. First there's a truce, and then negotiations to achieve peace. That's what people say who don't know history at all. As a rule, as Napoleon used to say, war and negotiations are conducted simultaneously. Let me remind you, there are actually bad examples. But the Vietnam War, 15 years between the US and Vietnam, negotiations were ongoing all throughout the hostilities. The Korean War, negotiations were ongoing throughout the hostilities. But probably the most relevant for us, yes, if we look at the 20th century, is the Soviet-Finnish War. History really does repeat itself in remarkable ways. Stalin proposes an armistice in Finland, that is to make peace. The British and French egg them on. You can't negotiate with the Soviets, you can't make peace. We'll provide you with military assistance. Volunteer Expeditionary Corps from England and France will come. Naturally, no one actually arrived. They didn't make it in time. You fight the Russians to the last Finn. Then as the fighting goes on, peace negotiations take place. And in the end, these negotiations, a final decision is made. After that, peace is concluded and the fighting comes to an end. So what am I getting at? War and negotiations have always gone hand in hand throughout history. Probably the most vivid and an instructive example, Peter the Great is here at the embassy. The Great Northern War with Sweden, after which Sweden forever lost its status as a great power, and the Russian Empire became a great power. The Great Northern War with Sweden lasted 21 years. 21 years. But just a few years after the war began, Peter the Great offered the Swedes peace. He said, we actually don't need anything. We have access to the Baltic Sea, St. Petersburg, and just a little bit around it, a security zone. And that's all. Historically, these are Russian lands because the entire Leningrad region and most of Karelia are all territories that once belonged to the Novgorod Republic. And Sweden had been chopping them off piece by piece. Back in the times of Ivan the Terrible, piece by piece. We know that all of this is our ancestral land, but we're not even asking for it back. Just give us freedom and access to the sea. Russia has no access to the sea, and it can't live without it. Give us St. Petersburg and the surrounding area, and we'll end the war.
Security guarantees. That sounds very modern.
What do the Swedes say? No, we will fight to the last Swede. So, Charles X continues this senseless war, despite Peter's repeated offers of peace. But the funniest thing is, who do you think was supporting Charles XI? England and France. They are providing endless funding to Sweden. Endless. In the end, we agree to peace negotiations. So, in 1718, the Åland process begins. On the Åland Islands, direct peace talks between Russia and Sweden go on for a long time. England and France are putting their foot down. No negotiations. Stop it. Let's do it through intermediaries, through us instead, because it benefits them when two major powers are fighting. That's it. In the end, these peace talks led to nothing. And only in 1721, 21 years after the war began, did Sweden finally sign a peace agreement. In Nystad. But it wasn't just St. Petersburg and its surroundings. It was a significant part of Karelia, the Leningrad region, the Baltics, and of course, St. Petersburg itself. And most importantly, Sweden forever lost its status as a great European power. Before the war, Sweden's territory was 1 million square kilometers. That's twice the size of France. And the Baltic Sea was essentially a Swedish inland sea. But as a result of the Great Northern War, it lost its lands in northern Germany, the Baltics, and much, much more. And in the end, well, eventually, Sweden would also lose Finland. There you have it. Well, it's about how, in such a remarkable way, history keeps repeating itself for us. It's not even clear why this happens to us.
About 21 years, that's quite a frightening number.
Time used to pass slowly. Now everything is moving much faster. But, Bismarck, who was an ambassador in St. Petersburg for many years, learned Russian perfectly. In general, he had a feel for Russia. He understood Russia. And he understood the common interest between Russia and Germany. He always said, never try to deceive the Russians or steal something from them, because time will pass. And sooner or later, the Russians always come to reclaim what is theirs. This phrase, the Russians always come to reclaim what is theirs.
Really, really fascinating to listen to this gentleman, historian and political figure. Again, his name is Vladimir Medinsky. I really appreciate him sharing this with us. And since he has mentioned Sweden, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna play you a video, but before I do it, because that video is in Polish, it's from my Instagram, I want to read you a story of Polish family who lived in Sweden and left Sweden, and why they left Sweden, and what is the case with their children. Are they going to lose their children because of how the evil operates? And this is not new. Let me read you this story. I will open the video. First, I will read you this in English. I translated this story for you. And then I will play the video in original version. Let me find it right here. Let me just stop it. Yeah, I'm gonna play this in Polish after I read this to you guys. So let me present you the story. This gentleman is a father. Next to him is his wife. He is speaking, and I don't know exactly when this was recorded. It could be recorded last year, okay? However, I just came across it. I didn't know the story. And I think it's interesting story, important story to share because, like I said, they are after your children, okay? This way or the other, with injections or physically taking them away from you. I'm gonna present you the story now in English. So he says, by the way, I forgot to mention, he is standing, talking to the journalists at a kind of press conference in Polish parliament. It's same, okay? So he says this: we lived with my family in Sweden for 10 years. We have 4 daughters. In December last year, I think it's maybe a year ago, our oldest daughter did not agree with the duties she had been given at home, such as cleaning her room twice a week, taking out the trash, taking the dishes out of the dishwasher, and forbidding her to sit on the cell phone 24 hours a day, because I believe, that's what the father says, that the phone is very damaging to a child's mind. And so she reported it to the school superintendent. This is an institution in Sweden that combines the school with the social service. My daughter reported it, and we were informed of psychological violence against the oldest daughter. She didn't come home that day. We were informed about it by phone. In January, we had a case in a district court in Sweden. We lost it. because in Sweden, you lose a case automatically when it comes to children's rights. And after some time, we were summoned to the social office to present a program for repairing contact with the oldest daughter. We came with my wife, and the clerk told us everything in details. And at the very end, she asked if we would voluntarily give up our 3 younger daughters. So he has four girls. We said that we definitely wouldn't, and we asked why. And she told us that if it is a presumption, not evidence, I want to emphasize that, then as far as the younger children, it could be the same case. It's just they assume that there is, violence or something, and the same situation could be with the younger children, right? My wife and I didn't hesitate for long. That day, we bought tickets to Poland by ferry, returned home, and notified all the offices, as you have to do in Sweden if you are going outside of Sweden for more than a year, like registration, health services, and things like that. I also informed the social office that we were already in Poland, that we were not going back because my oldest daughter was staying there with them, and the official informed me that they would be sending an application to the court to take our children away. So this is coming from Sweden, right? That application. Such an application was submitted, and 2 weeks later, so they're already in Poland, 2 weeks later, we received, when we are already in Poland, the Swedish court issued an order to detain our children. Such an application was sent to the Polish district court in Nysa, the name of the city. The district court in Nysa imposed a curator on us, a lady from social welfare, and we had to present documents such as Polish children's health booklet, vaccination, vaccination card, etc. We did all of that. The opinions of the probation officer and the schools, everything was good. On June 19th, we had a court case. We were questioned by the judge. She asked if we had documents about our youngest daughter's illness because our youngest daughter has autism. We said that there was a diagnosis, but we had to wait about a month for the documents, and she said that she was postponing the case for 2 months. So what she was doing them in a way like I would say a favor, because they had to wait for this document so that we could present this document to the High Court. That's what we were supposed to do. So that took place on 19th. On June 21st, 2 days after the trial, a single judge in secret in her office made a decision, we don't know why, to take our children and send them to an orphanage in Strzegowo. Strzegowo, this is the name of the town, and transfer them to Sweden. The whole procedure lasted exactly 5 days. So I have to tell you, I will play this in Polish now. Thank you for listening, by the way. I watched this. In a way, I was shocked. In a way, I was not, because I was hearing somehow similar stories coming from different countries when I actually was living in the United States. So this is, I guess, pretty common. This is how they operate. I don't know exactly what happened to this gentleman. I have to do more research on this, if those children returned, if they were sent to that orphanage place or not. It's just terrifying. It's absolutely terrifying. I heard about those laws in Sweden. Some of you are watching me from Sweden. Please let me know how is the situation there with this. I'm gonna play this now in Polish. Hopefully the sound is good, and then we will go to the next topic. So let me mute myself now, and we will go to this video.
Rodziną w Szwecji 10 lat, mamy 4 dziewczynek. W grudniu tamtego roku nasza najstarsza córka nie zgadzała się z obowiązkami, jakie miała nadane w domu, typu sprzątanie 2 razy w tygodniu swojego pokoju, wynoszenie śmieci, wyciągnąć z naczynia ze zmywarki oraz zabraniałem mi siedzenia na telefonie 24 na dobę, gdyż uważałem, że telefon bardzo niszczy umysł dziecka. I zgłosiła to kuratorowi szkolnemu. To jest taka instytucja w Szwecji, która łączy szkołę z urzędem socjalnym. Moja córka to zgłosiła i oskarżyła nas o przemoc psychiczną wobec najstarszej córki. W tym samym dniu, w którym to zgłosiła, nie wróciła do domu. Poinformowano nas to telefonicznie. Mieliśmy w styczniu sprawę w sądzie rejonowym w Szwecji. Przegraliśmy, bo sprawę w Szwecji się przegrywa automatycznie, jeżeli chodzi o prawa dzieci. I po jakimś czasie zostaliśmy wezwani do urzędu socjalnego, aby przedstawić program naprawczy kontaktu z najstarszą córką. Przyszliśmy z żoną i pani urzędniczka wszystko nam dokładnie powiedziała i na samym zakończeniu zapytała się, czy oddamy dobrowolnie 3 naszych jeszcze młodszych córeczek. My powiedzieliśmy, że na pewno nie i się zapytaliśmy dlaczego, bo ona nam powiedziała, że jeżeli jest przypuszczenie, nie ma żadnych dowodów, chciałbym nadmienić, przypuszczenie, to co do młodszych dzieci też takie może być. Długo z żoną się nie zastanawialiśmy. W tym dniu wykupiliśmy bilety do Polski promem, wróciliśmy do domu i powiadomiliśmy wszystkie urzędy, tak jak to trzeba zrobić na terenie Szwecji, że jeżeli się wyjeżdża na minimum rok poza teren Szwecji, czyli meldunek, służbę zdrowia i takie tam rzeczy. Przyjechaliśmy, powiadomiłem też urząd socjalny, że jesteśmy już na terenie Polski, że nie wracamy, gdyż moja najstarsza córka tam u nich przebywa i urzędniczka poinformowała mnie, że będą wysyłać wniosek do sądu o odebranie nam dzieci. To taki wniosek został skierowany i 2 tygodnie później, jak już byliśmy na terenie Polski, szwedzki sąd wydał nakaz zatrzymania naszych dzieci. Taki wniosek trafił do polskiego sądu, do sądu rejonowego w Nysie. Sąd rejonowy w Nysie nałożył na nas kuratora, panią z opieki społecznej i mieliśmy przedstawić dokumenty typu książeczkę zdrowia dzieci polską, kartę szczepień. Wszystko to zrobiliśmy, opinie kuratora i ze szkół, wszystko mieliśmy bardzo dobre. 19 czerwca mieliśmy sprawę w sądzie, byliśmy przesłuchani przez panią sędzinę. Zapytała się, czy mamy dokumenty o chorobie naszej najmłodszej córeczki, bo nasza najmłodsza córeczka ma autyzm. Powiedzieliśmy, że diagnoza jest, ale na papier trzeba czekać około miesiąca. I powiedziała, że odracza sprawę na 2 miesiące, abyśmy przedstawili ten dokument Wysokiemu Sądowi. Tak mieliśmy zrobić. 21 czerwca, czyli 2 dni później po tej rozprawie, jednoosobowo, niejawnie pani sędzina w swoim gabinecie podjęła decyzję, nie wiemy dlaczego, o zabraniu naszych dzieci, wysłaniu do domu dziecka w Strzegowie i przekazaniu ich na teren Szwecji. Cała procedura trwała dokładnie. My mieszkaliśmy z rodziną.
I know, guys, that you don't understand Polish, but there's some part of audience that is Polish or is living in other countries but comes from Poland and understands. So that's why I wanted to play the original video as well. It's pretty terrifying, isn't it? How the justice system in Poland works. So they escape to Poland to save their 3 daughters. And I tend to trust this person because you might also say, maybe, you know, he was abusing or this or that, that daughter, you know, could be, but I don't feel it. I think like this is actually a legit story. It shows you how the system works, how it's all connected. And I think because this is European Union, so it's just much easier to have judge make those decisions like she did. Now, let me take you to, horrifying, by the way. Let me take you to the last video. I was thinking about this electoral silence, about Poland, about what's going on in this country. And it doesn't look it doesn't look good, but somehow I have a feeling that everything will be fine. And it might not happen right away, as in for entire Europe. It will be a struggle, but sooner or later, we all going to clean up this mess. And I came across this video with this older Polish gentleman who is a true patriot. You know, when he speaks, and I will tell you what he's saying in this video, it really moves you, it really touches your heart. It's very genuine, and there are still people alive in Poland who are like this man. And I want to play it to you, for you. But before I do this, I want to tell you in English what this man is saying. Let me take you to this video. This gentleman right here, there was some gathering in Warsaw, I think. I think it was related with the end of World War II. So he's saying, I came to Warsaw with provisions. So he came with a bag with some food because he was probably expecting to spend an entire day there with those people who were, I don't think, maybe they were protesting. I'm not sure exactly from what event is this. However, he took some food with him and his, little plastic bag. And he says, I came to Warsaw with provisions. Look, he's saying this to the journalist, what I can afford. And the journalist says, we look into the bag modestly, very modestly. So it's very, very modest provision that this gentleman has. And this older man says, sir, to the journalist, this is the fate that befalls me because of my patriotism and love for the nation and the fatherland. But nothing will change me. I can die of hunger, but I will not change Poland and I will not leave it for an iota. For me, the word Poland is what my father died for, because he was in the National Armed Forces, what my grandfather died for, because he did not give the Germans a contingent, because he maintained a unit of the National Armed Forces. What my uncles fought for, one died and the other was in Dachau. Dachau is like Auschwitz camp. And I will tell you, honestly, I remember as a child the lice that ate me and I was hungry with my siblings. There were 5 of us, 5 children. Father was dead, mother was in the camp, grandfather was gone, and we are 5 children on the street, hungry, dirty, and full of lice. So much so that I will never forget this. And today, although I am hungry, I am happy because I am here among you. You know, it really moves me. I'm actually a very emotional person overall. It's, when you're an empath, you feel things, right? You feel everything. So I realized it reminded me actually, watching him, how important it is to live your life with purpose and have a meaning in life and have a cause that you believe in and fight for. Because if you lose that, life truly becomes meaningless. And this man, in spite of the struggle, still believes in the country and still has a sense of purpose and fights for the cause and has a meaning. So let me play this in Polish now. I know that Polish audience will probably appreciate it. There are great comments here from the viewers from Instagram, and they say, meanwhile, an illegal refugee will be given 1,000 euro. It's until the knife in the pocket opens. And we have this saying, in Polish. Another one says, he gives, it was actually 1 second, sorry guys. They say Ukraińcom dają, so it's not he gives. They give Ukrainians, it's wrong translation. They give Ukrainians 100 billion, and for our patriots, there is no decent life. And one more comment, honor and glory to the heroes and to the traitors. And to the traitors of the homeland, is wrong translation. He says honor and glory to the heroes, and kind of like a guillotine for the traitors of the fatherland. So let me play this, everyone. Let me mute myself.
Do Warszawy z prowiantem. Niech pani zajrzy, na co mnie stać.
Zaglądamy do torby skromnie, bardzo skromnie, bardzo skromnie.
Proszę pana, taki los mnie spotyka za mój patriotyzm i miłość do narodu i ojczyzny. Ale nic mnie nie zmieni. Ja mogę umrzeć z głodu, ale Polski nie zmieni i nie opuszczę ani na jotę. Dla mnie słowo Polska to jest to, za co zginął mój ojciec, bo był w Narodowych Siłach Zbrojnych, za co zginął mój dziadek, bo nie dał Niemcom kontyngentu, bo utrzymywał oddział Narodowych Sił Zbrojnych, za co moi wujkowie walczyli. Jeden zginął, drugi był w Dachau. I powiem panu szczerze, ja pamiętam jako dziecko wszy, które mnie jadły, a ja byłem głodny z rodzeństwem, a było nas 5 dzieci. Ojciec nie żył, mama w obozie, dziadka nie ma, a nas 5 dzieci na ulicy. Głodnych, brudnych i wszy tyle, że proszę pana, po prostu ja tego nie zapomnę nigdy. A dzisiaj, choć jestem głodny, ale szczęśliwy, bo jestem tu wśród was. Przyjechałem do Warszawy.
All right, everyone, that's all for today. Thank you so much for watching. I know this was in Polish, but sometimes, you know, I have also a Russian audience who can understand Polish pretty well, and some other Slavic viewers. And a lot of Slavic languages are very similar. So even though we don't understand every single word, we pretty much a lot of times get the context of what things mean. What words mean. Thank you so much for watching. If you appreciate the content, make sure to hit the thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Leave the comments below and let me know what you think. I will attach those stories in Instagram, in my Instagram as AniaK_44. So just click on the stories and it will take you there. And with this being said, lots of love, and remember, we are the leading edge and we are saving humanity. And I will see you after the presidential election, probably Monday evening. I will try my best. I'll be traveling, like I said, so the latest Tuesday, but I think I will do a video on Monday evening, hopefully, if I'm back home at the time, and I will keep you updated what's going on. I'm sure we're gonna have some shenanigans, so you can count on that. Bye, everyone.